And it'll be Europe to get underway first of all with Steve Thornton, and we saw Steve struggle a little bit in that team event, the Baker, which is really tough because you don't get any second chances in that, do you? You don't get a chance to work out the lane and find the pocket. So let's see how Thornton responds here.
Hopefully he'll work something out in practice.
Well, he seems to have done just that, doesn't he?
Yes, this is his first ball into the pocket in the tournament, so that will hopefully settle him down a little bit.
I just saw Tora Torgerson there, who just bowled that 299 game to give Europe its first point. And Thornton with the first ball of this doubles match with a strike. There is Torgerson. What a superb game he bowled against Mullin. Now here's the big man, Tony Manna. And he leaves himself the 10. Interesting guy, Tony Manna, isn't he? He's, they call him the Fridge after the American footballer William Perry, but he's nowhere near as big as the Fridge. No, he's a mini bar.
I remember the Fridge playing offence and pounding through a defensive line once for a touchdown. I don't think anybody could have stopped him, but Tony's certainly not got anywhere near the mass the Fridge had.
Here's the Joker, Will Hoffman, with the spare ball. He enjoyed that.
Basically what's happening here is the bowlers are bowling alternate shots, what used to be called Scotch doubles.
Really a little and large act, that one, isn't it? Hoffman's as thin as a rake. As for Tony, well, he may not be the Fridge, but he looks a bit like me, actually. So here's Nico Thienpondt. The Dutchman bowled well in the Baker, gets that bounce down the lane. A slow ball in comparison with the Americans that we've seen, but it's the net result that matters.
Yeah, this is a good shot from Nico, capitalised on Steve's opening strike, giving Europe an early 10-pin advantage. And it's a double that USA can't respond to because they're only sitting on a spare after the first frame.
So it's big Tony Manna coming up, and you talked about William Perry blasting through people. I'm not sure I want to stop Tony Manna getting to the bar either, if it comes to that.
If he was charging at me, I'd get out of his way, that's for sure.
The man from Omaha, Nebraska, blasts those pins into submission. William Perry would have loved that. Team USA would have enjoyed it as well. So a 10-pin advantage to Europe after that open, well, not the open, excuse me, after the spare in frame one. So Thornton, who seems to have settled down a little bit. That Baker to open up really is a tough way to start this Weber Cup. But Thornton can bowl strikes in bunches, and he's working a double for his team here, and that's 3 in a row. Turkey. See you later.
Well done, Steve. Didn't want to trust to the mix that he got on his first shot. This one hits the pocket perfect. No light hit here. All 10 pins into the pit in the ideal way.
And here is Hoffman with a little bit of pressure. Can't get too far behind now, this American partnership, and they don't. Good ball, and he's making light of it. I mean, he'll laugh about an earthquake, this fella, I think, but I mean, that was a bit of a pressure ball there.
Well, it's important to try and stay just those 10 pins behind, because it means if Europe don't strike, that they can respond with a double and get right back into the match. Whereas if he just spared, they slip even further behind. So now can Nico keep the pressure on?
We have seen some phenomenal bowling In the first match, 19 out of 24 strikes. In the second match, 22 out of 24. Here, 5 out of 6 so far. And Thienpondt to make it 6 out of 7. No, the 10-pin had other ideas.
Yeah, pretty good shot from Nico though. Very unlucky. Steve will be throwing his spare ball. Not really trying to hook it. Across the lane from left to right into the right-hand corner there.
Yeah, not a whole lot wrong with that, was there? On another day, that 10 would have gone. So Thornton charged with the responsibility of getting rid of that meddlesome 10-pin that has snapped this European strike streak. No problem, absolutely bang on.
Excellent spare from Steve. Straight into the front of the pin there. No pin showing on either side of the ball. We can't really do that much better.
But that opens the door for the big fella. Opens the fridge door. He's not very happy with himself there, Tony Manna.
No, that ball just hooked a little bit too much for him. Came up just that bit heavy, and when you do come up just slightly heavy on the pin, the almost inevitable result is a 4-pin.
That's frustrating for the Americans. They could have closed that gap with a strike. But as it is, it should be routine for the joker. And indeed it is. But another opportunity missed there. No chance for that pin, was there? Still 10 pins, the difference, but a long, long way to go.
Well, Bill Hoffman there comes from Cleveland, but I think his spiritual home is Milwaukee. He does like the odd beer.
Listen, if you come from Cleveland, anywhere's your spiritual home, believe me. Have you ever been there?
No.
I have.
It can get cold there, I hear.
Just a little. Here's Thienpondt. That high bounce. I want to talk about Nico's technique. Oh, it gets a strike. And we'll talk about Nico's technique as this match develops, and indeed this tournament develops. It is very idiosyncratic, isn't it?
Yes, it's not what you'd call a textbook technique. He plays with a good degree of what we call loft. In other words, the ball hits the lane, makes its first contact with the lane some distance beyond the foul line. You'll see most of the other players get the ball down a lot earlier on the lane and a lot smoother with a lot less noise.
So here's Manna as the Americans look to match that. Don't want to slip too much further behind. He goes wide, gets the hook. Job done. Keeps it tense, just 10 pins, and Manna needed this one.
There's no problem with this one from Tony. This one wasn't heavy. This one was right there. That really would have been unlucky if he'd left a single pin standing on that.
Bit of an edgy game, this one.
Just 10 pins.
Yeah, none of these partnerships entirely in the groove. Even though we're still seeing lots of strikes. Now Thornton. That's probably the best ball he's bowled in this tournament so far.
This is just about as good as it gets from Steve. Tora liking that one as well. Just caught a glimpse of him in the crowd there.
If you could bottle that and put it away, you would, wouldn't you? Because you can't do it any better.
No. Steve really starting to play well now. Didn't really find his range in the fives, but seems to be bowling very well now. Definitely in tune with the lane. Let's see if Bill is.
A little bit unlucky, it has to be said. He still found something to laugh about.
Yeah, well, he's happy. He's made a good shot. He's done everything that he can do. As I say, sometimes the gods don't smile on you. Really, that's the only difference between the two teams is the carry, and they're all hitting the pocket quite nicely.
Well, we've seen Hoffman with a couple of spares, and Manna. Well, he's allowed himself a wry smile, but Tim Mack will be down there and kicking some backsides if that happens again, I think.
He might be smiling. I don't think he's smiling inside.
No. That's an expensive.
Currently working at around about 229. The USA not even on 200 at the moment. This would take it to 239 if he can strike.
10-pin is proving a little bit pesky out there, isn't it? There is Tim Mack, Toro Torgerson just to the left there. Doesn't seem too bothered at the moment, Mack. He's got an edge to him though. If he needs to get in there and start laying the lumber down on somebody, he will. I don't think he needs to with these fellas though. This is a high-class field assembled here.
Well, Steve's already spared this once in this game, so, and very convincingly, so I don't think this is going to be any problem.
Yeah, easily done. Need to look easy.
Didn't make the same mistake that Tony made in the previous frame, so.
The
still looking at about 220 pace, 220 plus.
And the Americans with some problems.
Looking only for around about the 190 pace at the moment. A lot of strikes to find if they want to win this one.
And coming off an open frame, only a strike will do for Bill Hoffman. And that's not enough.
Too heavy on the head pin again. That's one from Tony that was too heavy, left a 4-pin. This one was even heavier than that and left 2 pins in the right hand corner.
I'll tell you what, I can see Tim Mack looking at the replay of that one very intently. And I don't think he was impressed. And he won't be impressed if Manna misses this one. And he has! Oh. And Mack was out of his chair watching that one go down.
Tim's not happy. That's 2 spares into the right hand corner his teammates missed there. And it's really hurt the USA very, very badly. I can't see them getting back into this game now.
No, you do feel that they've blown this one.
2 frames left to play.
He's still continuing to have trouble with that 10-pin.
Sorry there, Mike. 3 frames left to play.
Yep, Thienpondt having some problems with that 10. He's left Thornton with the tough job of finishing the job again. This ball that just looks so easy when you're sat up here. It's amazing how small that pin can get when you're 62 feet away from it. Like that. It's a good job they got this big lead, the Europeans. But they might not hold it. That might change things.
That really was a poor effort by Steve. Very surprising considering the other 2 he spared were very comfortable.
So can Hoffman take full advantage? Yeah, how often do we see that? You leave an open frame, your opponent comes back and smacks you in the face. Just like that. This one's not over, Richard. With 2 to play, the Americans are still hanging in there. As we get down to the business end of this first doubles match here in the Weber Cup, Nico Thienpondt has got some work to do. They need to get back into the strike zone, and Thienpondt's left a couple of 10 pins up, and he's done it again.
Steve's certainly
3 in a row.
Steve's certainly getting some 10-pin practice here. These are always testing when you've just missed them. You really have to concentrate very hard on executing correctly and try and put the last one out of your mind.
Well, he's not going to thank his partner for this, is he? That's 3 times now Nico's left the 10 up. Obviously, just one of those things, but it's put the pressure on Thornton, hasn't it? Just to stand up and throw a spare ball.
This is the awkward thing about Scotch doubles, is that if your partner isn't striking, you're always playing at the spares.
Better have no mistakes this time. But they've gone off the boil here, this European partnership. You can see the funny side. 10 goes where it belongs, but Tony Manna steps up knowing that a strike here could really set some nerve ends jangling.
But by the same token, it's almost essential that he does strike. Like, he's got a maximum of 215, and if Europe goes strike spare, it's 216.
And there is the strike. So they've still got some work to do. And look who's leading the cheers.
Good shot from Tony. Lots of power on the ball. A bit light on the head pin, but good mix on the pins.
But what was a cakewalk for Europe a couple of frames ago?
Well, if Nico leaves another 10 pin, this could be an interesting match, but if he strikes, it should really be all over. That would leave Europe just needing any spare to guarantee winning the match.
Thienpondt with that bounce down the line. Would you believe that? 4 in a row. And I tell you what Nico Thienpondt's going to be doing as soon as he gets some practice time. It's almost impossible to do this 4 times in a row, isn't it? Yeah, look at that.
Well, assuming Steve spares, if Nico leaves another 10 pin, that actually leaves the door open for the USA, so really...
And I tell you what, they were smiling and joking 5 minutes ago, but not at the moment.
No, this is starting to get a little bit tense now.
This is absolutely essential.
Looks good.
Yeah, he's got it.
So, can Nico carry the 10 pin this time? If he does, he's guaranteed at least a tie for Europe. Anything less, and the USA can steal the game.
The strike here makes it 215, I believe, Richard.
Yep.
Let's see how Thienpondt bowls with the heat on. Because as you say, if he doesn't get a strike here, the Americans can nick this one. Well, he's got back into the strike zone, so it's 215, but it is not game over. The Americans can strike out from here and match it, and if that would have happened, we'd play frames 9 and 10 all over again, starting from 0, like a sudden death playoff. Bill Hoffman. Even he stops smiling at the moment. But not for long, I suspect.
No, you can't stop him smiling for too long. He knows how important this shot is.
They need 3 strikes. There's one.
This was a fantastic shot. Perfect execution. Really solid at the foul line. Can't fault the ball in any way here. And if Tony Manna can strike, I really fancy that Bill will get another one to tie the match.
Well, in baseball, it's 3 strikes and you're out. Here in 10-pin bowling, 3 strikes and you're back in it. Brave effort, but they'd left themselves too much to do.
Yes, Tony bowled a very similar ball earlier on in this game that left a 4-pin, just a bit heavy on the head pin. You can leave the 4, or sometimes you can leave the 9. If you're really, really unlucky, sometimes off that shot you leave the 4 and the 9, but that's game over. Another point to Europe.
Not the most convincing, it has to be said. The Europeans built the big lead, and then they almost let them get back in, but in the end they win it by 10 pins, and they take a 2-1 advantage here in the Weber Cup.